So I was making a video about what chickens need in the winter, and I'm still going to do it, by the way. But I got onto the subject of shelter other than the coop, and you'll see why it's important to be other than the coop in a second. And I figured it was so important that I would do a separate video just on the winter shelter that I've made, because the chickens love it, and I think it's really, really important that they have some form of shelter other than the coop. Yes, they've got the coop and it's dry and it can be warm in there, but you don't want them in the coop all the time. You want them to be able to go somewhere else. So you'll recall in a previous video I did a chicken shelter whereby they could get out of the rain, they could get away from the predators. Well, I've adapted it now for the winter. So I'll show it to you now. So here it is. It's really, really simple, and the beauty of it is I've made it from stuff that I found around the place, other than the wheels. But then again, I bought a few wheels to make chicken tractors and other stuff with. So I've utilised those wheels. But here it is, and you can see how popular it is. They're in there at the moment. It's basically a large pallet which I have covered on the top with some plastic sheeting and an old door I found for a shed, and then at the sides I've again used some plastic sheeting, and you can see it's completely open on one side, and there are gaps underneath at the sides, but that isn't an issue. Took me about 2 hours to make, and what it is, it's really kind of utilising the greenhouse effect, in that you get a little bit of sun out here, and in there the temperature, I think, and we'll do a thermometer test in a minute, is going to be considerably different, and it gives them somewhere else to go other than the coop. You don't want them hanging around in the coop all day. They've got a long winter ahead of them. The coop's going to get dirty, it's going to get smelly, and this gives them the opportunity to go somewhere else. So what I've done is I've got the pallet, I put 4 legs on it, a couple of wheels. It was really simple to do. If people want to know how to do it, I'll of course tell you. And then I've put this plastic sheeting over the edge, over the sides, and they love it. Quick look inside. I was going to put some perches across, but I've decided against it because I don't want them to roost in here. I just want them to spend some time in here out of the coop. I've put their food in there to encourage them to go into it, but at the moment they don't need much encouragement at all. They spend a lot of time in here. Some of them still spend some time in the coop. Let's go and have a look. Here's the chicken tractor. I think there's a couple of them in there. Yep, she's in there. That's her boyfriend there. But I don't want them spending all the time in there, which is why I built this. Again, it's on wheels, so I can move it around. And what I tend to do is I move it so that the wind is coming from one of the sides and isn't going through the shelter. Bit of a fight over there. So I do it so that the wind is coming across rather than through there. But I can't recommend it highly enough. It's worked wonders, and they love it. They spend a lot of time in there. In the winter, they're going to go in there to get out of the rain, and also it's not going to snow in there as well. They don't like snow, so that's going to be where they spend most of their time. So yeah, very quick video on the winter chicken shelter. I'm going to do a longer video now on what chickens need in the winter, one of which is shelter. But I thought it's such an important issue that, and it's worked so well and it's so effective, that I'd do its own video. So what we'll do now is we'll see the proof. I've got a thermometer, or I will set up a thermometer in there, and then we'll see what the difference is between the ambient air temperature outside and the ambient air temperature inside the shelter. Now, I know it's not very scientific, but it's all I've got. The ambient air temperature outside the shelter here at the moment is about 15 degrees. I've got a thermometer set up inside, which the chickens are particularly interested in at the moment. So if I do this quickly, without them knocking it over again, we'll see the difference between the outside of the shelter and the inside of the shelter on a not particularly cold day, but it's the difference we're looking at. So you can see them all in there. There's the thermometer, don't touch it. It's going to be hard to see. Let me try and... It's difficult for it to focus there, but take my word for it. There we go. That's 20 degrees. They're just below 20 degrees. So there's a 5-degree difference between the inside of the shelter and the outside of the shelter. And while I'm here, you can see how much they like it. So yeah, 5 degrees between the ambient air temperature outside the shelter and the temperature inside the shelter. So there we go, 5 degrees difference between the outside of the shelter and the inside of the shelter. I'm really pleased about that. I didn't expect it to be that high. And I think in the winter when it's really cold outside, if there's a little bit of sun, you'll get the greenhouse effect going on in there. Even though the sides are mostly open, you're going to get some air trapped in there. They're going to get in there. They're going to be able to get out of the draft. And I think they're going to love it. So yeah, that's the winter chicken shelter. Now I'm going to go and get on and do a video on how to keep chickens in the winter, to do other stuff as well, like ventilation.